Hello, my name is Daniel Lang. I'm the author of a book entitled Reviving the Reformation: A Jewish Believer Peers Backward to Move Biblical Truth Forward. I have put together a three-part video series that explores why Jews do not believe in Yeshua. I hope to find lost truths concerning the first century Messianic faith by shining new light. The mere mentioning of the name Jesus is enough to grate the inner being of most Jews today, for that name carries with it many negative connotations for the Jewish person. A multitude of largely non-Jewish people over the past 2,000 years, however, has acclaimed this Yeshua to be the promised Jewish Messiah. Now, the doctrine of Messiah certainly is central to traditional Judaism, but Yeshua definitely is not. Why do most Jews today not accept Yeshua as the Messiah? Messiah is undeniably a Jewish concept. The English word derives from the Hebrew word Mashiach, meaning anointed one. The figure of the Messiah was revealed in many descriptive passages throughout the Tanakh. Because of these passages, traditional Judaism has awaited his arrival for many centuries. For instance, during the Passover Seder, the song Eliyahu Hanavi hopes that Elijah the prophet will herald in the Messianic age by bringing the Messiah, son of David. Mashiach ben David, Mashiach ben David. Another example can be found in the musical Fiddler on the Roof. As the Jews are leaving their village Anatevka, the rabbi reasons that they will have to wait for the coming of the Messiah someplace else. And in the 13 Principles of Faith drawn up by Moses Maimonides, the 12th principle states, I believe with perfect faith in the coming of the Messiah, and though he tarry, I will wait daily for his coming. The concept of Messiah is deeply rooted in many Jewish traditions, prayers, and thoughts. Before we investigate why most Jews today do not believe that Yeshua is the promised Jewish Messiah, let me first say that many Jews in the past have believed, and many Jews today believe that Yeshua is the Messiah. All of the first followers of Yeshua were Jewish. In fact, the whole New Testament was written by Jewish authors. One of its authors, Paul or Shaul, has gotten a bad rap in Jewish circles, but he claims to have been trained at the feet of Rabbi Gamliel. He remained Torah observant all of his life. The New Testament specifically records that there were thousands of Jewish believers in Jerusalem in the first century who were all zealous for the Torah. For close to 40 years after the death of Yeshua, the Jewish believers in Jerusalem were leading the Messianic faith. Subsequently, a Roman hammer fell on the Jewish people in Israel during the first and second Jewish revolts. During these periods of devastation and afterward, the Jewish believers in Israel were no longer in the driver's seat of the Messianic movement. Their influence in guiding the young Messianic faith was quickly lost, and another group took over the reins. Since the 19th century, the assimilation of Jewish believers has declined, and believing Jews have again sought to find their place as Jews within the Messianic faith. They can be located throughout the United States and in many other countries of the world. This movement of believing Jews is not one massive cult, as some surmise. The Jewish believers today are divided into various factions, as is the rest of the Jewish community. The number of competing ideas among these Jewish believers concerning the ideal understanding and expression of the Messianic faith is probably as abundant as the number of individuals involved in the movement. Many factors have contributed to modern Judaism's rejection of Yeshua as the Messiah. Since modern Judaism encompasses a diverse population of Jews, these factors have not influenced all Jews equally. Regardless of how these factors may be weighted to affect individuals, the rejection that develops is almost universal. Let's start with the number one thorny issue for Jews when confronted by Yeshua. Christians say that Yeshua is God, but this is idolatry for Jewish people. Let me tell you a secret. The earliest Jewish believers in Jerusalem did not believe that Yeshua was God. The Christian church, divorced from its Jewish roots, eventually developed the incomprehensible doctrine of the Trinity. Did you know that the word Trinity is not even found in the New Testament? Clearly, the Messiah was to be a unique human being. God's divine power was to come upon the Messiah, and considerable authority was to be given to him by God. Still, the Messiah was never envisioned as God. The Church's contradictory doctrine of the Trinity should never have become the deal breaker for the Jewish people. A second reason most Jews today have rejected Yeshua as the Messiah is because most Jews today, whether they accept the existence of God or not, have rejected the basic scriptural concept of Messiah, any Messiah. Only the strict Orthodox still cling to the literal belief in the coming of a Messiah. The rejection by most Jews cannot honestly be over a disagreement as to the Messiah's characteristics and function, because these contemporary Jews no longer honor these messianic criteria. A third reason many Jews today do not accept Yeshua's messiahship is because many Jews are strictly bound by a traditional majority viewpoint that dictates what they should believe. Since the majority of the Jewish people today and throughout history have not accepted the claims of Yeshua, the conclusion is drawn that Yeshua cannot be the Messiah. The majority viewpoint is rarely questioned. The Torah tells us that the people of Israel contemplated stoning Moses and Aaron at one point in the wilderness. Try to imagine the Passover observance scarred with the stoning of Moses and the returning of the people of Israel to Egypt. Jewish history tells us that the majority viewpoint of the people of Israel can occasionally be wrong. The fact that most Jews today do not accept a messianic viewpoint does not automatically dismiss the possibility that Yeshua could be the promised Messiah. A fourth reason most Jews today are not believers is also closely related to this majority viewpoint. The majority viewpoint does more than passively sway people away from accepting Yeshua's messiahship. Rejection from family and the Jewish community as a whole is quite real and creates a solid partition between most Jews and Yeshua. This rejection stems from the false perception by most non-believing Jews that a Jewish believer has turned his back on his people and has divorced himself from his rich heritage. They do not realize that most Jewish believers now feel more fulfilled as Jews by knowing the promised Jewish Messiah. Most Jewish believers seek to gain a better understanding of their Jewishness and their purpose as Jews in God's overall plan for mankind. One piercing view, which frequently surfaces in the Jewish community, is that Jews who believe in the messiahship of Yeshua are no longer Jewish. Usually one is considered a Jew by descent in our society, regardless of what he believes, unless he is a Jewish believer. There are atheist Jews and Hare Krishna Jews, but no Messianic Jews. Rabbi Akiva was not expelled from membership in the Jewish community after he proclaimed the secular leader Bar Kokhba to be the Messiah during the second major Jewish revolt against Rome. However, Jewish believers in Yeshua have been socially excommunicated. Regardless of the hardships, Jewish believers will live the life that God has called them to live. Please go to my next video to explore the specific evidence for Yeshua's messiahship.